My conclusion is the system is broken. I mean, how you come back from, well, look, in total, we're talking over 400,000 backlog cases in the courts. How you claw that back by simply saying, here's $5,000, now just get on with your job and work with us. Whew.
It seems to be a theme where the government thinks they'll throw some money at it and it miraculously is going to change overnight. It's like policing, you know, they eroded police numbers by 20,000 and then they'll throw money at it and then they think they're going to get these 20,000 back literally in 2-3 years, which it takes much longer than that. And that's the thing. All these backlogs are going to take years.
Yeah, and obviously at the heart of everything that takes place in justice is, you know, trying to redress a wrong, and there's a victim there. And when you've got delays, the victim suffers for a longer period of time. And when you're hearing about tinkering on the edge of collapse, really worrying situation where you think some people might not even bother to take cases, you know, to prosecution. And
that's the real problem, when you've got this whole thing about jurisprudence and what the law really stands for, and people, unfortunately, would think, well, there's no point reporting it. You know, if it applies to an insurance claim, they leave it at that, and then it sends the wrong signals to the perpetrators, the suspects, who think, well, actually, there's a good chance we'll get around this, and especially if they're waiting for months, possibly years, before their case is heard.
Well, I get that in terms of the public, absolutely get that. But what in terms of professionals, you know, your former colleagues and whatever, when you're a police officer and you realise, what's the point? What's the point prosecuting this? You must come across, you know, thinking like that.
Well, especially if, you know, you spend a long time compiling a case, you know, from the investigation and then, of course, submission to the Crown Prosecution Service, and, you know, officers in the case have to run with this case right up to Crown Court. And then at the end of it, sometimes the case is discontinued because the victim doesn't want to know anymore, or the fact that, you know, goes to the conclusion and it's a minimum sentence. You think it's devastating, demoralising. And I suppose we're seeing this right across the justice system because of austerity, and that's really eroded the infrastructure to such an extent now that you're thinking, well, actually, you've got these backlogs in every aspect of the justice system. And we see it in other public services, and it's a theme that's going right across the piece.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at one of the papers this morning talking about people pulling out, extracting their own teeth, because more and more dentists are just deciding to only work in private practice. And when people think of barristers, they think incredibly well paid. But the truth of it is that actually at an hourly rate, a lot of these who offer legal aid are actually working below the minimum wage despite their high levels of training and education.
Yeah, and they're in a massive, massive debt going through all that training. And, of course, then they're at the lower rung of the ladder and they have to build themselves up. So the glamour of, you know, the QC earning hundreds of pounds an hour is actually for a very small percentage.
But Leroy, what's more frightening to me is when you strip all this away and you look and you say, why aren't you paying that government? Well, the reason is, obviously, the government does not believe fully in the legal aid system.
I don't think they really understand the impact of austerity and the value, especially when it comes to reassuring people that we're in a safe, secure and positive environment. And they've got to understand that if you get a real imbalance right across the piece, they're going to see that public service is an essential piece of our infrastructure and, you know, giving law and order and peace and hopefully a quality of life.
Well, Dominic Raab, the Justice Secretary, has said we have proposed to increase investment in criminal legal aid by £135 million a year. That's the biggest increase in a decade, as recommended by an independent review. As Ed was saying in his report there, it sounds as though they're taking their row from the courtroom to the picket line.
Well, they seem to be having a fight on all fronts, and good luck to them.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.